Guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a little bit off from my regular content which I have on my channel so far. So I've been working in a full-time job since 2007, which is around 15 plus years now, and over this period of time I figured a thing or two about how to plan my finances to meet my short-term and my long-term goals. So that's exactly what this video is going to be about. I'm going to give you 6 points on how you can start planning your finances. My name is Dhivya Sahadevan, and this channel is my creative space where I get to share everything that I enjoy, everything that motivates me, that keeps me going with you guys, hoping that it brightens up your day. So my main motivation for making this video has been, over the period of years that I've been working, I've had a lot of my friends, my colleagues, my family reach out to me, asking how I manage and plan my finances, and all of these were women. And I was surprised that a lot of them do not know the basics, how to plan their finances, and it's really no rocket science. Like, even me myself, I do not consider myself to be an expert. I just know the basics, and I think it's been doing well for me. I've just kept myself open to learning and exploring the different options. And I strongly feel that being a woman, it is very, very, very important that you are financially independent, or at least, you are aware of, how to drive your finances, and you're not just blindly relying on someone to guide you through your finances. I think it is key to fighting patriarchy and the societal norms that we have grown up in. The amount doesn't matter so much. Like, even with a low pay scale, just getting yourself financially literate can feel really empowering. So without further delay, let's get started. So the first point is something that I would call preparing your financial blueprint. So this is nothing but just listing out all of your sources of income, your expenses, all your cash reserves, and then budgeting it. So when we talk about income, we're talking about, it may be your regular, monthly pay income. You may have other sources of income. So you want to be really aware and just put it on paper, like, what is, all your sources of income and how much comes in. So this is very key to knowing, like, how much can you afford, and where, just to kind of tally it with your expenses and know how much, room do you have for your investments and, your spending. And the next is, of course, you want to prepare your expenses, and your expenses will cover all your monthly expenses, the regular, recurring expenses, as well as, you want to keep some room for all the miscellaneous expenses that happen in a month. So as you do this, maybe the first month, of course, is not going to be very accurate. For most people, if you haven't been kind of, keeping note of your expenses, you will be rather surprised to know all these little expenses that you have, how much it kind of amounts to. So it's great to, just be aware of it. It can be a little stress inducing in the beginning, but just remember that this is just going to help you identify, how much is your expenditure, and just and as you do it for a couple of months, you're going to understand that, okay, so for a month with my current lifestyle, this is my kind of expenses that I have. And the next thing that you want to list down is all your existing fund and cash reserves. So what happens is, we end up picking up all these policies, and the bank sell us certain plans, and you pick up random things, and sometimes some of them get disconnected in between. You stop paying them, you kind of forget them. So it's very important that you kind of bring it all together. You may have multiple savings account, there may be some cards which are open. So it's very important you list down all your open accounts, how much money you have in all your open accounts, close the accounts which are not required anymore, and just keep it clean and simple. For me personally, I think this has been a really, like, it's just made it really crisp and clear in my mind. I'm not confused about, okay, do I have something else open? Do I have any more plans open, any more funds there? It's just a really good idea to, to clean it up and start fresh, and exactly, what is your income, what is your expense, how much of cash and reserves do you have, what all plans and policies are open currently. And then once you have these 3 things listed, you can start with budgeting. And budgeting is when you say, like, you can start planning planning like, okay, this is my expense. Do I really need to make some changes here? Do I need to really spend so much in certain categories, or am I overspending? So all that decisions is what you do in your budgeting, where you just re-look at, your expenses and see if it makes sense, or do you need to kind of, if you have set, say, I'm going to spend 10K on groceries every month, you can re-look at it to see like, is that too less? Depending on, all your personal factors. So it's good to kind of do this process of just budgeting every month. So I generally do this activity in the beginning of the month. I look at, of course, the income and expenses don't change so much. Expenses, of course, change every month, but the income is pretty much, fixed, right? And the expenses is where, again, if you've been doing this for a couple of months, it doesn't take long. It just takes a few minutes to kind of go through them. I have, in my mind, I make a note of, what all are the expenses that may come up this month. Maybe there is, a school fees that you need to put this month, or there is a birthday gift that you want to buy this month. So make note of all those expenses and just put those, miscellaneous amounts in. And once you've done that, you are very clear, like, this is your income for the month, this is your expenses for the month, and this is the amount of money that you have that is open for savings and investment. And now we move on to the next point, that is defining your financial goals. So when you're defining your financial goals, there are, it comes into different buckets. So there may be short-term or immediate goals that, you want to get done in this year, in the next 2 years. So this will be your short-term goals. Then there may be mid-term goals, which are things that you want to do within, like, say, 3 to 5 years or 5 to 8 years. So once you've kind of listed down, what is your short-term goal, what is your mid-term goal, what is your long-term goal, and long-term goals are something like, your retirement, and, we are looking like, 10, 15 years in the future. So that's going to be kind of your long-term goal. And you can start tying up your, financial goals with your investment plans. So the next thing, once you have your financial goals planned, is now to plan your investments. And planning investments generally happens, like, especially for midterm and your long-term goals, it's not something that changes very often, especially long-term, like you're planning for, the next 10 years, or, something that you want after 10 or 15 years. There are a lot of ways in, how you can invest money. Like long-term can be, you buy a piece of land, you buy gold, you go to a bank, and, they'll give you a lot of plans where if you give, certain amount of money every year, they kind of guarantee you that if you are paying, say 1 lakh every year, and at the end of 10 years, you're going to be getting, say, 15 lakh. So there are a lot of, plans, and you can, check with your banks and, to see what are the different plans available. And of course, it doesn't mean that you need to put 1 lakh. It can be something really small to start off with. It's depending on your income. Medium term is generally something that you want to do for at least 5 to 8 years, making any changes. So for me, my midterm investments are generally the SIPs and the mutual funds that I invest in. And this is again something which is not really difficult. Like when you hear mutual funds and stocks, and it's something which I used to feel personally that, okay, this is not something that I can do, stock market, it just sounds really complicated. Like I cannot keep track of, how this market is going up and down. But if you are in, if you are planning to invest for the long haul, it honestly does not matter. You don't have to keep track of the stock market. If you just invest in good, reliable, companies, you can just put your money in there and, forget about it for the next 10 years. And it is kind of guaranteed to give you good returns. But of course, if you are investing in mutual funds and stocks, you have to be investing the money that you do not need immediately, because, again, because of these market fluctuations, the time you need it, maybe it may be down, but it's almost guaranteed that if you just let it be, your money is going to come back up. These are just some points that you want to keep in mind before investing in mutual funds and stocks, but it is totally doable, and that's what I'm trying to say here. I'm again not an expert in investing in mutual funds and stocks. I just choose the most reliable and the bigger companies to invest in, so that I know that I can just put it there and feel secure that in 10 years from now, it's not going to be, the company's not just going to close down. And your short-term investment plans are the more liquid funds, like the FDs, your recurring deposits, your fixed deposits, and those kind of funds, again, banks offer a lot of different ways on how tools to use for short-term investment plans. But I generally just use recurring deposits, especially when I need it in the next year. So the things that I generally use for my recurring deposits are when I want to plan for a travel, like I want to make a travel at the end of the year. It's just a good idea to just kind of automate an RD to your savings account, and it automatically pulls that money into that recurring deposit, and you get a little bit of interest. It's not much, but it's still better than just keeping it in your savings account. And there is always the risk of you're going to just spend it out, and at the end of the year you're not going to have that money. So it's great to open an RD for your short-term investment plans. Now that you have your you have your financial goals, you have defined your investment plans to kind of tie up with your financial goals, the next are few points that are very important that you have in place, else it's going to disrupt your existing plan. So the rest of these points are kind of to support your the plan that you have put in place. So for that, one of the main points is maintaining an emergency fund. So an emergency fund is something that a reserve, a cash reserve, and it is a liquid cash reserve. And you've not put this into any of the bonds or stocks. It's just amount in a place where you can easily access it. And generally you want to keep this in a separate savings account rather than the most active account where you are daily transactions are from. So you want to keep this in a separate savings account, and you want to maintain a minimum balance that is going to cover your monthly expenses for the next 18 to 24 months. So at least I would say 24 months, if you can do it, just maintain that balance. This is kind of like your security blanket that, if by any chance you were to lose your job, or, any other situations, or, which could arise in life, just to cover that, you pay off your monthly EMIs, your school fees, or things like that. So you want to make sure that you have this emergency fund. It's very, very, very important, and it just keeps you kind of stress free to know that okay, in case of any emergency, I have that fund there. And in case of emergency, you're not trying to frantically sell some stocks, or sell your mutual funds, and all those take some time to kind of get the money in your hand. So it's always important that you have some amount of liquid cash reserve. The next point is to insure yourself optimally, and this should cover both your health and life insurance. So this is again in cases where there is a medical emergency, you do not, and medical emergency it's likely that it eats up a lot of money, and that's the points where again it's a risk to your existing financial plan. So make sure you have some insurances in place. It's very important to cover your health and your life insurances. And if you're working, it's likely that it's covered under your office. But if not, it's a very good idea to take a pure life insurance. Like, it's not tagged to any tax saving scheme. And, when you look at pure life insurance schemes, they end up being a lot cheaper than the ones that, are tagged to some kind of tax saving scheme. So make sure you have that in place. That is really, really important. And the next point is just to keep yourself open and to educate yourself on all the financial transactions happening in your house. Like, we all belong to a household. It's a good idea to kind of have an idea of, what are all the incomes that are coming into your house, and, how, if you are completely cut off from it. And I know a lot of, being women, we are kind of seen as, not financially competent to, and, there's no need to kind of discuss these issues and money with women. But I think it's a really good idea to get in to those conversations, and just be aware of, what is the financial situation of your family, and, what is the income coming in, what is the expenditure that's happening, and what are the different financial plans and the investments that you have as a family. So it's good to be aware and, be involved in these decisions and discussions that happen around money. And of course, there are different financial tools that you can, educate yourself with, and one of the most popular being credit cards. So credit cards are something which have a really bad reputation, right? Like, most people advise you not to take a credit card, but I think it's a really, really good tool to use if used wisely. But I've been using a credit card from the time I've started working, and it's worked out so well for me. It's of course, apart from covering your situations where you're left without money, it's always going to be it just feels secure, especially when you're traveling, that you have a credit card with you, you're never left without money. And if used wisely, there are a lot of perks of using a credit card, like the points that you accumulate, and the kind of how you can use your points for extra discounts and some goodies. So that's great if you use well, but of course, if you're starting your financial journey and you have when you look at your expenses, you feel your expenses kind of outrun your income, it's possibly a good idea to kind of get that in control before you start exploring a credit card. Because if you are you end up overspending on your credit card, it's going to be really difficult, because the interest rates on the money spent on the credit card, which you're not able to pay back, are pretty high. So make sure that you kind of get the hang of it, and when you start using a credit card, just get the flow of how the payment cycle happens, and make sure you're swiping your credit card only for as much as you can pay in your next cycle. And you want to completely pay off your credit card bills. You do not want to keep any kind of balance on your credit card. So these are few points that you can keep in mind, but definitely credit card is something that is worth exploring, according to me, once you get kind of comfortable in your planning your finances. So that's all I have. I hope this video has been helpful. I've just been wanting to make this video because it's honestly no rocket science. It's just a mental block which a lot of us, especially women, have towards money, that we are not competent enough to kind of handle money. But honestly, it's no big deal. It's just a matter of kind of getting used to kind of handling money, and it's like any other skill. You keep doing it and you keep getting better at it. So it's nothing other than that. So let me know if this video has been helpful for you. Is there anything else that you think I did not cover in my video? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your feedback on this video. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'll see you again next week with a new video. Till then, take care guys. It's me, Dhivya, signing out. I'm going to give you 6 top 10